regulation 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no number 5. The prohibition in Regulation 5 does not apply to a person. There is no Regulation 5 shown. So apparently since the 27th of March there have been 500 persons allowed to enter the island as doesn't say what they are. Well, they are exempt persons, and apparently these people don't have to, they're not quarantined. A lot of them are coming from the UK, where there's a high incidence of deaths due to the virus, something of the order of 15%. The Isle of Man has 8%. And apparently quite a number of these exempt persons have come through the DOI. Regulation 5 again. There. I don't know what this is meant to be. So this is Regulation 3, and this is the only 5, but it doesn't say it's a regulation. So you're regarded as being a resident in, or shouldn't it be on, the island. So what that sort of says is that you have to have been in that property on the Isle of Man within 6 months of the date that you intend to return to the Isle of Man. So if somebody left the island on the 1st of November, they would not be allowed to go back onto the island on the 1st of May. So for those who are still not on the Isle of Man, who are overseas, you need to look at the date that you left the Isle of Man to find out when the 6 months expires, because after that time, according to this, you won't be able to go back to where you live, even if you do own a house there. So now we come into exempt people, exempt individuals. So I don't know if that is a continuation of this or what. It's an absolute mess of information. This is to do with people who are exempt. Here we get this regulation 5 again. Here we go, false or misleading information. So this seems to be more of a means of punishing people who are resident and who are not on the island. So how do you find out what this means? And would you want to find out? So here's this regulation 5, which isn't on this, wherever that regulation 5 is, I don't know. And regulation 6 isn't on this. This, I think, certainly goes up to number 3. Oh, here's regulation 4. And there's nothing there about anything. So that is the rules and regulations that you download from a link. With regard to repatriation. And I think they may as well not bother to have done such a thing because it lacks clarity, and it appears to give them the means to prosecute people who are resident on the island or who own property on the island and who normally sort of live there. It gives them the means to find fault and prosecute them. Well, as it is, the Isle of Man and the United Kingdom have a very high percentage of deaths linked to the coronavirus and the COVID-19. So in my particular case, I would be going from a low infection area to a very high infection area to a high infection area. And the way this looks, they seem to take the attitude that the Isle of Man is not a high infection area, which it is, and that other places are a much higher infection area, unless this applies to the UK and not to the rest of the world. If it applies only to the UK, then the precautions are required. However, the limitations, restrictions and conditions that they have here, which are being applied to Manx people born on the island and who have a property on the island and who normally live there. That is quite wrong. And the word discrimination has been mentioned by one or two people, and it certainly does apply.